Hello fellow readers, welcome to the debut of my YouTube channel where the star is the book. Today I'll be talking to you about this little gem of a book, The Lost Honor of Katharina Blum, seen here in the Portuguese edition. The book was written by Heinrich Böll in 1974. Heinrich Böll received the Literature Nobel Prize in 1972. It revolves around the main character of Katharina Blum. She's a housekeeper, she's known as the nun, she's prude, she's rigid, she has great organizational skills, she's frugal, she had a hard childhood, she's brave, devoid of any sense of humor, loyal. So you can see as a character she tends to be a little on the dry side. And that dryness is also reflected by the writing style. The book is written as if it were a police report. So I think this is a very important rules from Böll's part, because the matching dryness of the character and the style leaves only upon us as readers and our feelings the possibility to fill in the blanks and empathize with the character's fate. So in all great stories there's always an element of perdition, and the element of perdition in this case is the small-time criminal known as Ludwig Gotten. Ludwig and Katharina meet at a private party. They spend a night together in her house, and in the morning, after telling Katharina that he was being wanted by the police because he was a draft dodger, she shows him a way to leave her house other than through the front door. We later find out that Ludwig was being the target of police surveillance, and the fact that he left her house other than through the front door allowed him to evade that surveillance. So Katharina is brought in for questioning on suspicion of aiding a fugitive. A pivotal sentence in the development of the plot for me is on page 14. Katharina rose police suspicions because she didn't seem surprised, yet calm, not to say triumphant. And to me, this could be a very important misinterpretation of her behavior. The fact that she looked triumphant, I wouldn't be able to tell apart a triumphant person from a happy person who had just had sex. So the possibility for a misinterpretation from the police part, thinking she was triumphant when in fact she was probably just happy, could give cause for us readers to think that she probably couldn't get onwards an impartial treatment by the authorities. So everything in her life is then finally combed. Her financial statements, her bank accounts, her friendships, her hobbies. The case takes a turn for the worse as it reaches the Zeitung being the German word for newspaper. And the Zeitung in this book is a sensationalist newspaper. A news reporter for the Zeitung gets a hold of her employer, a wonderful character by the name of Dr. Hubert Blorna. Katharina is described by Dr. Hubert Blorna as a very intelligent and cool-headed person. Of course, this is then quickly distorted by the Zeitung into being ice-cold in calculus. So this creates a sort of social epitaph for the public reputation of Katharina Blum. A character of her is then created to the public eye, a villainous character. The policemen who interrogate her even seem to have some sort of sexual envy towards her. She's tall, she's blonde, she's pretty. And some details of her questioning are then spilled over to the press, and we begin to see her life as it begins to erode. Of course, serious journalism also handles the matter, but as Katharina states on page 43, who reads this stuff? Everybody I know reads the Zeitung. So you can see that the journalistic preferences of the community in which Katharina lives is a contributing factor to her downfall. There's even the worst case ever for the defense of the free press. When confronted by one of Katharina's witnesses about the spilling over of secrets of the questioning to the press, Dr. Curtin, a DEA officer, states on page 45, a person who doesn't go around with bad companies could not give cause to inconvenient descriptions by the press. High moral standards, huh? So this is a typical case of Caesar's wife dilemma. It's not enough to be serious, you also have to look serious. We've all been guilty of this in some point of our lives. It's human nature to take stances, but we hardly ever take them on purely rational and logical premises. Of course, the newspaper on page 79 states, as more flexible and not always conventional means. So they keep finding more details about the life of Katharina Blum, and those details further deviate the investigation. There are very interesting talking points about the book. Of course, this was set in a time where Germany was still divided. There was still a West Germany and East Germany, and political tensions are high. So political prejudice, and on a lower scale, Wessie versus Aussie prejudice, are very palpable throughout the book. There's a wonderful character by the name of Trude Blorne. She's the wife of Dr. Hubert Blorne, the wife of Katharina Blum's employer, and she's described by the Zeitung as Red Trude. Communist is even thrown around in the book as almost as if it were an insult. The father of Katharina Blum was described as by the priest of her childhood parish. He is described as a closet communist just because he once said in a tavern, in a local tavern, socialism might not be the worst thing ever. So you can see there seems to be an history of social persecution towards Katharina and her family. Another interesting talking point I found about the book was that Boll emphasizes that poor people out of a need of survival, they have to cooperate in these shady schemes. He even talks about the guys who install the phone taps. And if poor people have to cooperate out of a need of survival in these things, they run the risk of they themselves becoming dark side, of they themselves succumbing to moral baseness. He even talks about on page 69, which I found the funniest sentence in the book, regarding this moral dilemma of having to cooperate with these shady schemes. Why is the Pope silent on the matter? It's a great sentence. Well, in conclusion, what is the main lesson to take from the reading of this book? We have a common housekeeper, and all of a sudden, because of a sensationalist newspaper, she becomes public enemy number one. And all of her acquaintances, mostly the Blornes, they themselves pay a heavy, heavy price for just knowing her. Well, the moral here is that I believe the law, the media, and even today, specifically in today's society, social media, they can also become weapons, elements of persecution and revenge. There's a small indiscretion from Katharina's side, but that small indiscretion, that social dissent, is treated as harshly as you would think a political dissent would be treated by the Stasi in East Germany. Well, the fact is, with those sacrosanct words such as politics, religion, and morality, they should only be defended through dialogue and reasoning. And this is a major flaw in human nature, is that those high, mighty words are the ones we are the least willing to compromise on. And that is, like I said, a major flaw in human nature, a major problem in our moral constitution. Well, to sum up, I think this is a great book. I wasn't particularly drawn to the book other than the fact that it was written by a Nobel Prize recipient. But I'm so glad the book found me. I'm glad I read it. To me, this book soul is going directly into book heaven. And that's about it for our debut episode. Hope you guys enjoy. Remember, read on. There's a truth out there waiting for you in some book. See ya.